JB here. Jim Buckley, that is, from New York City. Born on 72nd Street, 45 minutes from Broadway. I look back on my life from my 98 years. Well, I graduated from Bryant High School with a scholarship to Parsons New York School of Fine and Applied Art, which it was lengthily called in those days. That inevitably spelled a career somewhere in the lively arts. And I also had a part-time job as an usher at the once magical theater, the Hippodrome. This all happened in New York City, you know. The amazing stage show, with its 50-girl Rockette-like chorus, gave me my first experience of stagecraft. It was a thrilling time to actually be a part of the Broadway scene. Even the most prodigious plays were more affordable then. They were $4.40 for the best seat in the house, but only $2.20 if you're willing to wait until the dumped unsold tickets at LeBlanc's discount ticket offices in the basement of Gray's Drugstore just off Times Square. That was 55 cents for a regular $1.10 seat in the second balcony. You grabbed a nickel hot dog at Nedick's. I remember watching Katharine Hepburn drown herself in the lake, a new play which inspired Dorothy Parker's famous line in her review of Kate's performance, quote, "Katharine Hepburn runs the gamut from A to B," unquote. It seems odd today that the theater as a vocation was never a serious consideration. I fell into a quick job at Bloomingdale's, the original department store, and the window display department needed a flunky. At $29 a week, it wasn't doing my creative potential much good. However, now that I was an experienced display person, I got a dreamy job at R.H. Macy and Company, responsible for both cosmetics and their famous grocery department. I had great fun satirizing society's she photographer, Cecil Beaton, by trimming the showcases with wicked artist compositions of Campbell's soup cans. I wonder if I inspired Andy Warhol. Well, display finally turned out to be my medium, and it shot me to the top in a hurry. My displays were featured in Life magazine, Vogue, Time. Well, it wasn't long after the spectacular debut that I went freelance exclusively with Saks Fifth Avenue, the original, opposite Radio City Music Hall. Even at that time, it was clear that my display work was being influenced and infused with my passion for live theater. And the 61 seats in the Pewter, Plough Playhouse, each are named after famous actors that I had seen on Broadway during that period, from Noel Coward to, well, Ethel Merman. I was soon transferred to Saks Fifth Avenue, Beverly Hills, where I fully realized that my love for live theater had been expressing itself all along. I rather wistfully tagged all of these dramas of display my sidewalk theater. It was then that I met a smart-looking dame who had been a shopper for Irene Sharaff, MGM's costume designer. Her name is Olga Sugic, who soon became Olga Buckley. She is now remembered most dearly by our Pewter Plough family as Lady O. The first seat you come to in the theater is Lady O's seat. When I hear this song, I think of my wonderful life with her. You are the promised kiss of springtime that makes the lonely winter seem long. You are the breathless hush of evening that trembles on the brink of a lovely song. Later in 52, I wrote a how-to book on my sidewalk theater displays. And even today, you can find it on Amazon.com or eBay. And I hear from professors from time to time who use the book in their courses. Well, World War II broke out soon after, and my peculiar talents were utilized by the U.S. War Department as a camouflage engineer and stationed down on Wall Street, as a matter of fact, in New York City. It eventually got me to London, where I was able to attend some lectures at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, particularly remembering classes like those led by John Gielgud. And meanwhile, newly married to me, Olga designed displays in New York windows. And she did a lovely job of them, I remember. But I have to tell you why I didn't get married at the little church around the corner, because it was affectionately known as the Actors' Church. And it would give me a sense of belonging to my great passion for the theater. It's because when I presented myself and our little party, they said, "Have you ever been married before?" And I said, "Yes." She said, "Well, I'm sorry, but we can't marry you again. We're Catholic here." Well, we had difficulty in finding a pastor to marry us, but finally we found one. Norman Vincent Peale, actually, who gave up part of his breakfast to come out and prove the power of positive thinking. While overseas, I auditioned for and got the part of Sergeant Ruff, the detective in Angel Street, a production of the U.S. Special Services that was being done for the pleasure of the GIs and their British friends. And that was held in the largest theater in London, and director Peter Coates, who was noted for having directed The Mousetrap, the longest-running play in theatrical history, directed us, and it may even still be running. As a matter of fact, I think it just closed. I was also elected to direct Gertrude Stein's most recent play, her final play, as a matter of fact. It's called Yeses for a Very Young Man. We were in our third week of rehearsal when Miss Stein pulled the rights to her play with no explanation. I had an urge to call her and try to get her to change her mind, but suddenly Olga had gotten the Red Cross to spring me back to the States for a reason vague but urgent. En route home, I stopped in Paris to visit Gertrude Stein and give her hell, but I needed desperately to know what went on in her mind. Luckily, she was home, and Alice B. Tuckless, her companion, the lady who baked the infamous brownies, remember, served tea till the notorious American author appeared. When I told her I was tempted to call her to persuade her to let us go on with her play, she said, "Why the hell didn't you? I'd have let you. I was just upset with the brass for not letting me visit the boys in the Army." I sped homeward, to see my Olga, who wanted to have an heir before it was too late. While in Europe, I met an American director, Al McCleary. When he got back to the States, he originated a most ambitious theatrical TV series for NBC called Matinee Theater, to televise 5 different stage plays per week, live, airing around noon, in order to promote color TV. Al was the producer. He hired 5 directors and 5 art directors, and I was one of those. As soon as we were through televising one play, we had lunch. Then we met to plan next week's play. Matinee theater might have been a hectic assembly line, but it was most enjoyable. After that, I had a short stint at MGM and served as art director on a film called Merton and the Movies, starring Red Skelton. The year was 1947. Later, I designed some industrial exhibits in Tomorrowland at Disneyland. As a matter of fact, I was art director on Tomorrowland, and then I had the more satisfying job of designing the Movieland Wax Museum in Buena Park. After several other jobs, including a stint with producer Jack Rather, it was time to retire. We headed north to Cambria, where we had discovered the ideal place during the first trip we had made to see the gardens in Victoria. Ray Shamel, the high priest of real estate, showed us various dream sites, particularly one that he enthused about that had a spectacular view of the ocean and was in the middle of a pine forest. Asking him where the spectacular view was, he said, "Oh, you just chop down a few of those trees, and there it is." Well, soon after settling the real estate, we opened our Pewter Plough antique shop, and after appearing in several local productions, Olga and I created the Pewter Plough Playhouse. Why call it the Pewter Plough? I purchased this property upon hastening my retirement from the constant meeting of deadlines in the entertainment and fashion industries. We opened an antique shop for which I had bought a highly burnished farm plow that at that time resembled pewter. And that was to serve as the shop's signature when I mounted it about in front of a garden bench out front and tagged it, "A thing of beauty is a joy forever." And the shop, in the meantime, was really an excuse to house a treasure trove of props that I had accumulated while I was at NBC as an art director. The most exotic piece in the antique collection was a boat-shaped bed in the Louis XIV style, which was supposed to have been made for the King of Portugal, for his concubine. More important, as far as the bed is concerned, is that its movie career started way back in Lon Chaney's Phantom of the Opera, and several other important movies on the way until recently. It was with Gloria Swanson and Sunset Boulevard. I had visited a display place for the famous antiques, but while standing in the open space inside the building and listening to the remarkable acoustics, that the museum idea went out the window. It became a theater for live stage plays, and the Pewter Plough Playhouse was born. It's been most invigorating and most gratifying to spend the last 5 years developing this thing of beauty for the whole community, where we have produced over 130 plays in a period of 35 years. Not unusual for a community theater, but unusual for we have not having done it before. Olga passed in 98, but serves as our angel from heaven or some such place. This is 2011 now, and this December 1st, I will be 99, still designing and building sets, a little assistance from Art Van Ryn and from our son James.